Do you keep your eye on the national news or international news? Have you seen the stuff that's going on with the euro, the European Union, Japan, the Japanese yen, their dollar? There's a lot of things that are moving and shifting. You need to, somebody might say, well, what's that got to do with me? It's on the other side of the globe. It's got more to do with you than what you might think. Hi, my name is Charles Vance. I'm along with Chief Strategist Terry Sacka. You're watching The Wealth Transfer. Stay around. Terry, good to see you.
Hey, welcome, Charles. How are you? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Biblical Principles, Global Economics, and Protecting and Preserving Your Family. Because here in the kingdom, we must be prepared. If we go back to the Great Depression and we look at the tragedy of the Great Depression, it was the churches that were stepping up and feeding the people and really putting into help and house and give people some hope. We need to be prepared in the body of Christ to give people hope in the future. But if we lose all of our resources, are we prepared? If we lose everything that we're saving because we're in the wrong system of money, are we going to be there? And when I say that in money, because the Bible says that the dishonest weight and measure is an abomination. Honest scales are a delight. This is a dishonest weight and measure. These currencies, the euro is only 12 years old on the verge of collapsing. The Japanese yen, one of our biggest partners, for the first time I've seen on the verge. This is paper. It goes to zero all through history. Dishonest weight and measure. Why are we putting most of our retirement, our hard-earned savings, our church and ministry investments for the future in this?
Hey, this is
Why
real.
not in what God created? It's from the earth.
Yeah,
and remember
absolutely.
this, honest scales. Why? 1 ounce is 1 ounce. You can't make it, you can't fake it, and that's key.
Yeah, we've got good scales now. They used to rig the scales back in the old days many years ago, but now we've got honest scales.
That's right.
So that we can get some accurate measurements. Terry, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now economically, and a lot of people look at the news and, you know, it's kind of like, well, flip the channel, it doesn't have anything to do with me. But it really does have something to do with things.
Well, because they're making it look like we're doing okay. Our stock market looks like it's going all right. But what they're not telling you...
And it is.
No, it's not.
Huh?
It's not.
Well, I mean, the numbers are going up.
Only because we were printing trillions of dollars. The banks are leveraging those trillions. If you actually look at corporations, their profits are not... They're going down, not up. They've revised their estimates for profit down and down and down. They're making it look like it's good, but it really isn't.
So the only reason the stock market would be going up would be supply and demand right now. Trade. People are just trading it in what they can get out of it, they'll get out of it.
The real reason the stock market's going up is they printed trillions of fake currency dollars.
So that people can buy it with?
The bankers put it into the stock market,
Okay, gotcha.
making it look like it's real. But the actual valuations of the company, known as PE, price to earning ratio, is whacked out. It's not legitimate. Anytime this happens, you eventually will get a collapse. Our currency merely looks like it's going up. Our stock market looks like it's getting better. They talk about raising interest rates. They may throw a nickel out in the air for raising interest rates, but they can't substantially raise the rate, because we can't afford to pay the debt on the interest that we have.
When you talk
interest
about
on our debt,
the
government debt.
Yeah.
So this is not going to happen. But it's just, what I'm realizing is Europe, Japan, and then our other handful of partners, the Swiss franc and English pound and such, they are the nations that give the dollar its value. We weigh it out like a teeter-totter. If one has more than the other. And so they go back and forth with these valuations. Now, why is that important, though? Because the rigging of these valuations are allowing the governments to issue bonds, IOUs, so they could spend more money on social programs and such to try to stimulate the economy. Remember, the biggest employer in the last 5 years here in the United States, the U.S. government.
Now,
and most jobs, mind you, all part-time.
Are they, the job reports are looking good.
Charles.
They're
amazing. Listen,
well, they're on the news.
I think maybe a
you
little.
You don't believe the news,
no,
Terry?
No. And I might be slightly off on this, but I think I'm not. It's close to this. We lost roughly 13 million full-time jobs in this crash of '08. They call it the Great Recession. It's actually a depression, but that's another story because we're paying people off instead of them standing in lines. 13 million, only a couple million of those jobs actually came back. All the other jobs they talk about, as Charles just alluded to, are part-time. And the only real employer was the government. Now, we all, if you don't know, you really should start doing homework on socialism, Marxism, communism. Marxism leads to socialism, socialism to communism. Marxism redistributes money from one to another. They take from somebody, Robin Hood, given to another. Socialism, they do that, but they do it with a gun in your head, but they still have some space.
Isn't there some Marxism going on in the U.S. now?
Well, we are definitely Marxist now. Absolutely. We're moving in that direction. And if people don't like the labels, sorry, it's just the way it is.
It's what it really is.
I personally think, I just respect more. If you're Marxist, which there's definitely a fifth of our nation, I think, believes that, then you know what? Be proud to be. There are a few people who are. There's a couple of senators who are proud to say they are socialist and Marxist. You know what? I respect them because they're honest about at least saying who they are. What really is bad for we the people is when we're lied to. When we're lied to that we are here to protect the middle class, and it's the very middle class who's getting reamed. And we are really, really getting hurt. I am the middle class. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, with the automotive in the middle class, with high, explosive healthcare costs and other costs to inflationary goods and services. It is all smoke and mirrors. We're here to help. Everyone always says we're here to help the middle class. It's the very middle class that is being destroyed. And all I know is when someone lies at that level, that's the devil. And it's evil. And what they're trying to do is say, we'll do this for you. We're here for you, but they turn right around and they're pickpocketing you.
Well, they're taking the money from people that are working and making money
Absolutely.
and giving it to people that are refusing to
I
work.
know for a fact on the health care, this whole health care thing is a debacle. All you had to do was increase Medicaid if you wanted to help them and put some provisions in for people with pre-existing conditions. I get that. But what they're doing is the opposite. They're making average middle-class people pay so much more. My mom and so many people I know pay such higher premiums now for health care with higher deductibles, and they can barely afford that. Now, it's horribly deceiving is what that is.
Didn't that come across, like, because I was dealing with a professional photographer at the time doing some publicity photography things, and for a book that I was doing. And he said, man, I'm looking forward to this Obamacare thing. Right. He said, because I could use free health insurance.
Right.
And he actually thought, as I'm sure millions of Americans did, that they thought they were going to get free health care because it kind of came across like that.
And some are. There's Medicaid.
But the middle class working family
not
is
the middle class.
By any means.
Exactly. This was purely designed for people who don't pay taxes. Pure and simple, almost. And then some of them, yeah, they're raising the bar a bit, but the bigger point is it's a redistribution. But the thing is, it's really bad because what's happened is Europe started doing this even way before we did. They were more that way before America was. We used to be sovereign and liberty-free, which we're not anymore. We're actually way on the scale down on freedom and financial freedom and business opportunity. We're not the America that we were built on a couple hundred years ago. If you studied your history or saw the movie Monumental, you would cry because you would not recognize the nation. All I'm saying is this is tragically deceiving. I respect a difference of opinion. I dramatically disrespect deception. They even caught this guy who helped construct the healthcare law saying how stupid Americans are. We just have to tell them we'll do this, but we don't have to really do it because they won't notice anyway. Now, I don't know about you, but that kind of is irritating. That's deception from leaders that we're supposed to trust. You can't trust. So if we can't trust, we see this deception, our nation is changing before our eyes. What do? In the body of Christ, we must be the solid foundation for when this event comes. Because what we're showing you in Europe, in Japan, it's going to be a domino effect across the world, and the United States will get hit overnight. Our future standard of living, our retirement will evaporate in valuation terms and your ability to buy things if you're not properly protected. In the proper asset base, away from dollar paper currency, you stand to risk all of your life's earnings. Is it worth it? And a lot of people say, well, what can I do? How can I get started? And here are some things to do.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
See, the reason we're spending some time on Europe and Japan is because Europe and Japan are in such negative interest rate, meaning they're being forced to pay a bank to put money in, which is a very bad indicator for the economics, that's how bad their economy is. And what that means to us is when their economies are that bad, it is literally one domino away from it coming to America. And Japan was one of our major trade partners. For instance, look at this image here, 59. This is the dollar and the Japanese currency, the yen. Now, this is something that you could see is back from the 70s. You'll see how strong Japan was. That's image number 59. And you'll see, look how strong the yen was back then. Look at that. Is that beautiful? It was literally a wonderful, Japan was a dynamic economy. But look over since the 70s, what has happened to Japan. They basically collapsed. And you go to talk to Japanese and they'll concur that. Now take that off. This is interesting because if you notice in the 70s, that's when we came off the gold standard. And all these nations started printing all this money. Now granted, it took 40, 50 years, okay? But it's coming. This is the whole point. It's all coming due. The reckoning is getting ready to take place, and I believe the Shemitah cycle of this September is a big part of that. But that Japanese currency valuation like that, that's 40 years something of a chart. You saw they're not coming back. You can't. Once you print more money than your ability to even service the interest on it, eventually it collapses and goes to zero. So I'm contending major global realignment, major global currencies going to zero. Of course, the dollar's in the middle of that. What comes from it? I don't know. A new world currency, global currency as far as reserve? Will the IMF step in? Will it be a war? I don't know. But we know that the reckoning is showing. Can it last a few more years? I suppose. But the indicators are screaming so loud that Europe and Japan is in such major trouble, I don't see how you reverse it. It's basically like this. Jump in a swimming pool with a 100-pound weight belt on. Do you think you're going to swim to the top for air? I don't see it, you see. And that's what every one of these currencies are doing. The dollar looks like it's good. The media is telling you it's good, but the real data is wrong. Nobody's buying our bonds. Look at this next image here. Well, put it this way. Look at image 60. This is our labor force. That's labor participation. That's from 1978 until today. We did have a little boom there for a while, but look at this. Really think we're getting stronger? Our labor force participation, meaning people working, and look at how much it's gone down. You can take that off.
What do you mean by people working?
Look at that mountain. Basically, in the early 70s, we started exploding with jobs. We were booming there for a while.
Gotcha.
And then when you see that mountain come down, for the last basically 10, 15 years, 20 years really, we haven't really been working. More and more and more people are going on welfare. We have $1 trillion a year.
Can people
welfare bill?
You need to say that again because I don't think people comprehend that. So the U.S. government is paying out $1 trillion a year
to welfare,
which is 1,000 billion.
Yeah.
A billion is 1,000 million. They're paying out $1 trillion a year in welfare payments. Just to buy people food, to give
just to keep people satisfied so they don't cause trouble. And they keep saying, we're here to help.
Where does that come from?
Taxpayers. Well, more than that, they're printing fake bonds and printing money, and they're using it, but nothing to back it up.
So the government's just developing more money.
They're creating nothing out of nothing.
Yeah,
they're creating nothing out of nothing, And what they're doing is saying it's for something, and we're falling for it.
Somebody might ask this question, why can't we keep doing it? They're the law, and
I can tell you why.
You know, they can just keep printing it forever.
Here's another law. Throw an apple up in the air. It'll go up pretty high, right? Sooner or later, what happens? It'll come down. It's called law of gravity. There are specific economic laws just like that. Every single one of these currencies ever created back to 600 BC have gone to zero. All I'm saying is we are actually at a reckoning point. A lot of people we talk to say, oh, well, I've seen this in the 70s and it's no big deal, we'll get through it. They don't understand in the 70s is when we started the new currency. So most of it is an ignorance and really just ignoring truth because we're being deceived.
Now, people don't understand that you just said that we started a new currency in the 70s, but it looks like this one was before the 70s and this one was after the 70s.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, although they'll never see that. Here it is right here. They look the same, don't they?
Yeah,
here, let's get this on me only, this image. Here it is. They look exactly the same, don't they? Yep. Here's the thing. This one, the top one, actually was exchanged for silver back in the day. They were equal. They both bought you 5 gallons of gas. Well, today, they've separated now. The dollar you see today is not this one. It's now this one that is no longer exchanged for silver. The dollar's all by itself. I go and sell my silver today. Remember, back in the day, they were equal. I go and sell my silver today. I can buy not only the same 5 gallons of gas, I can buy 9. I can buy almost twice as much gas today as I did in the past. What can you buy with this now? Gallons of gas. Half a gallon? So what do you want in your retirement and your future? 9 gallons of gas? A half a gallon of gas. Very huge, because what they've done is they've faked us by taking the $1 that was actually silver-backed,
so this
and now is backed by nothing.
This was called a silver certificate.
Correct.
And it actually legally, or the one you've got here, actually says you can trade this for 1 ounce of silver.
That's right.
But now this is completely done away with.
That's right.
On this. This is a Federal Reserve note.
And
this is backed by the federal government.
Yes.
That they only owe $18 trillion.
And it keeps escalating,
yeah.
Right. And what we showed you in Japan and how the money printing is going up and how the money printing is going up. Ever since the 70s, when they came off of making this your money, they were printing trillions of these.
Now, Japan's done the same thing. They're off of,
they have.
They're disconnected from any tangible backing of their yen.
Yes.
Everybody
and
in the
now,
world
here's the important
basically
thing is, a lot of people go, yeah, but we've done this for 40 years and it's been okay. But what we haven't realized, at the beginning, it's like slow moving. At the beginning, printing these, we're printing them in the billions and billions, and it was okay. We kept spending and spending. It was slow moving. What happened recently since 2008 is a rocket ship. We literally has gone straight up because we've printed trillions, and so has the Japanese and the Euros and the Chinese. And everybody is.
Terry, it's not just the physical printing of the money, it's the computer
digital
yes. that the government is giving the Federal Reserve freedom to buy bonds digitally, transfer digital money or checkbook money, which it's called, into their accounts. The government's got checkbook bonds, basically. It's cyber bonds.
And the sad part about this, Charles, is we the people are working. We're so distracted by things. We're working with family and everything else. We don't realize all of our retirement and hard-earned savings is in stock market related, bond market related, paper money. Overnight, in 2008, whatever happened in 2008 to your portfolio, I can tell you this: the next one will be far, far more aggressive than 2008. I think catastrophically more aggressive. So whatever happened in 2008, it's going to be worse this time. And will we come back? I think it's a realignment. Now, the reason I say that, we're in this now, printing bonds. And people say, well, we're still functioning. China and them used to buy our bonds. Now they're selling them. Who's buying our bonds? Look at this next image, 61. This is who's buying our bonds now. Look at that. That's Belgium, U.S. Treasury holdings over the last handful of months and so forth. Look at that. That's Belgium. Now, what is Belgium? Well, how could Belgium be buying so many bonds? I can only tell you, you can take that off. I can only tell you, Belgium doesn't have that kind of money, right? This is more than their GDP. And so they're buying bonds, our U.S. bonds. Who's Belgium? The European Union, centrist government, printing euros, fake out of thin air, to buy the U.S. bonds printed fake out of thin air. We're buying each other's smoke and mirrors. This is smoke and mirrors is what I'm saying. What does that mean to us is sooner or later, we're going to have another catastrophic event, which I personally believe is going to start this September. There's just something with the Shemitah, the four-blood moon, the Jubilee. That has way too much coincidence for me, and I don't believe in coincidence. So I believe the warnings have been fired since 9/11 and 2008 market crash. We're not in God. Your retirement, your future standard of living is at stake. We in the body of Christ need to be here so when this next Great Depression comes, we can have the resources to feed and help spread the gospel, love on and support those that are hungry and lost. How do we do it? Well, here are some ways to get started.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
So we want to stay on the bonds because what they're saying that we're okay because we issue bonds. Mind you, we are spending as a nation roughly $1 trillion more a year than we make in revenue. And that's all sleight of hand and deceiving, so don't get into the details of it. Bottom line is we are printing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in bonds we're issuing that someone's buying, giving us credit as a nation.
Now you're saying the government is printing the bonds.
Government's printing the bonds.
Somebody else is buying the bonds like other countries.
Banks and central banks of other countries are buying the bonds. Now, it used to be Russian, Chinese, Japan, Brazil used to buy our bonds. They're not buying our bonds anymore. That's where the QE came in. The Federal Reserve was buying our bonds. Now, here's the trick. If we're not buying the bonds, that's where we're in trouble. We ran out our stay, our welcome. The world is not interested in our bonds anymore like they used to be. You're going to see a major sovereign correction in the bond market, but
why were other governments interested in our bonds?
Well, because we're the reserve currency and we would pay an interest rate. It was a stable place to store their wealth and get return
So if they would
on
have bought bonds from a place like Indonesia, where it's an unstable government, it's hard telling what the bonds would have done.
Yeah, because if the government collapses, you lose your money.
Gotcha.
And everyone believes that America would never collapse.
Okay.
Mind you, that is the biggest deception, I believe. Now, I love my country more than anybody. And next to the same guy, I have a National Defense Medal through the U.S. Army. I get loving a nation. But I also love we the people more than a sovereign centrist government who thinks they're different than us. We the people are, but we're not paying attention. We're deceiving, we're being deceived, and we're deceiving ourselves because they're dumping our bonds. And Russia's right in the middle of this. And that's why I encourage you, if you have not seen, go to the Cornerstone page, go to the wealth transfer link in the upper right corner, watch the petrodollar series, watch the Jubilee Shemitah series, watch the banking series, because you want to understand who the players are. Russia and China are big players. And look at secretly, now I just shouldn't throw this out, but I saw it just on happenstance and I couldn't believe how eerie it was to things we've been talking about, Charles, for a long time. And I never saw this movie. There's a movie called something Jack Ryan. And it's a CIA, ex-military turned into CIA. And the whole plot of the movie is exactly the stuff we're talking about. And I was like, wait a minute, that's just the stuff. But I'm coming from data. I don't watch movies typically. And this just happened to be a moment. And yet I'm like, whoa, that is eerie. Is that not an elitist telegraph of what's coming? The only difference is Russia doesn't have that kind of money in the treasuries. But look what Russia is doing in our economy, which goes right along with this storyline. It is eerie how real this is and how the button could be pushed so quickly from the east to the west and collapse our economies. Look at 62 image. This is going to finish off the euro, and this deals with the petrodollar. Look at the Russian treasury holdings. Look at how much they're selling off. They almost have nothing left. And people say, well, how are they doing that? Who's buying what they're selling? That's right. The federal government, U.S. federal government was buying it. Now the Europeans are buying that debt. But the Russians are getting out of that debt. You can take that off. This is all regarding the petrodollar and energy to Europe and things we've gotten into in the petro series. You have to understand it because this is directly impacting the economies of Europe, Japan, and the United States. And all of this is interlinked, and this is why Syria is involved. But Russia dumping our debt is really big because they're getting ready to have zero attachment to the U.S. dollar, where then they can attack the U.S. dollar economically. And I believe China's behind it as well. Let's go into image 63 because this is an 85-year chart of our debt in the United States. And I want you to really soak this image up. Those three peaks, mind you, the first little circle on the left there, that was the first Shemitah of 9/11. The middle circle was the second Shemitah of 2008. Look at this third one, circle. Higher than even 2008 in margin debt. Now this is really dangerous. Danger level. If you've noticed on that danger signal level there, you can see. So take that off. Know this. Margin debt means how much credit. That is not a good image. Our future, our retirement, everything is at stake. We're going to continue with this data going forward next week. So God bless you. And if you haven't made Jesus Christ center of your life, ask Him. That truth will set you free.
You can watch these programs on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at Cornerstone Asset Metals on your personal computer, your smartphone, or your tablet. Terry and I are here on this station at this same time every week. Tell somebody about the broadcast. We'll see you next week for the Wealth Transfer.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.